Hi, my name is Kai Lin, and this video is an introduction to CSIRO's FHIR code system and value set authoring tool, Snapper Author. Snapper Author is part of the Snapper platform, which is a web-based FHIR resource authoring tool developed by the Australian eHealth Research Centre. This video will show an overview of the software, how to import or download resources into your workspace, how to create and maintain FHIR resources, including code systems, value sets, concept maps, and post-coordinated expression libraries, how to secure your resources using security labels or allow anonymous read access, and how to modify a resource while preserving previous versions. This is the front page for Snapper Author. Here on the top right, there are two buttons where you can toggle between Snapper Map and Snapper Author. Next to it is a cog icon. By clicking it, you can select your FHIR server. If you choose a FHIR server that requires authentication, a login button will appear here to allow you to log in with your credentials. On the left side is where you are able to create new resources and will also show you all of the resources that you have open in your local workspace. There is some information here about what happens when you are saving. Essentially, the Snapper tool saves into your web browser's local storage, so if you switch browsers, you will not be able to see your work. Also of note, both Snapper Map and Snapper Author have inbuilt tour functions, and they will walk you through all the different components of the tool. For example, here, it will show you how to create a new code system and walk you through the process. How to import or download resources from your server into your workspace. If you have a FHIR resource in JSON format, you can upload it into your local workspace by clicking the Find Existing FHIR Resources button. From here, you can browse for your file and add it to your workspace. You can now click on the resource on the left and it will open into the editor screen. If there is a resource that is available on the server already that you wish to view or update, you can find it by again clicking the Find Existing FHIR Resources button, selecting the type of resource you are looking for and searching for it. Once you have found what you're looking for, you can add it to your local workspace to edit by clicking the little green plus button. How to create and maintain code systems and code system supplements. To create a new code system from the home screen, we go to the menu on the left and click the plus icon next to the FHIR code systems. A pop-up screen will open and here you can enter your metadata. You can enter a title for the code system, the URL and a description. Only the URL is mandatory. Once you're happy with that, click Done. You will now see your code system is in the resources on the left. If you want to change any of the metadata that you have just entered, you can do so here. Here you can also add some other information like the version and the value set URI. If you are creating a code system supplement, you can select that in the content field drop down here. Selecting the supplement will give you another field to enter the code system URL that you are supplementing. To populate your code system, you can add codes manually by entering codes directly into the table here. You can remove lines by selecting rows and deleting them by clicking this button. You can also add codes by importing a file by selecting this button here. Snapper can import both CSV and TSV files. To import your codes using the import wizard, browse and select your code set. Choose which type of file it is. Select the number of rows for the header if there are any. Then using the drop-down menus for each column, identify the target for each column you want to import. You need to have one and only one column which has been selected as codes. Once that's complete, click Import. You can see now that your code set has now been imported. You can also add properties and filters for your code system, and you can specify properties for each code as you require. If you have additional information you want to associate with your code system, you can do so by clicking the Additional Metadata tab. Here you can add things like other identifiers such as OIDs or other local identifiers, change the status, add publication dates and names, copyright details, tags, and also add security settings. Snapper also allows you to add in a narrative if you wish, here in the Narrative tab. Once you are happy with your code system, you can then validate and upload or download your code system. To do this, go to the Upload FHIR Server tab. To validate, click here. To download, click here. To upload your code system, click here. If you have permissions to syndicate, click here. To update the code system, make any changes you require, such as changing the contents or metadata, and then go to the Upload to FHIR Server tab. And here you can upload your code system. How to create and maintain value sets. To create a new value set from the home screen, we go to the menu on the left and click the plus icon next to FHIR value sets. A pop-up screen will open, and here you can enter your metadata. You can enter a title for the value set, the URL, and a description. Only the URL is mandatory. Once you are happy with that, click Done. You will now see your value set in the resources on the left. If you want to change any of the metadata that you have just entered, you can do so here. Here you can also add some other information, like the version. You can populate your value set by specifying inclusion and exclusion criteria as you require. For both inclusion and exclusion criteria, you can specify specific codes or you can use filters. You can also reference multiple code systems, however each one requires a separate tab. To include or exclude specific codes, you can use the Include Code and Exclude Code tabs. To add a new include or exclude, click the required button to bring up a new tab. For each tab, you need to select a code system. You can do this by clicking on the code system bar and searching for your code system on your FHIR server. You can also specify a version. To select specific codes, you can add them in manually by typing them directly into the table. Or you can use the code system search on the right to search your selected code system. Once you identify the code you are looking for, you can drag and drop them into the table. This works for both include codes and exclude codes. To use the filter option, you can use the include filter and exclude filter tabs. To add a new filter tab, click the required button to bring up a new tab. Again, for each tab, you need to select a code system. You can do this by clicking on the code system bar and searching for your code system on your FHIR server. You can then enter your filter details into the table. You can remove any created tabs by clicking the red minus icon on the chosen tab. Once you've finished populating the value set, you can add in any additional data that you have in the additional metadata tab. Here you can add identifiers, publication details, copyright information, tags, and security settings. Once your value set is complete, you can then validate and upload or download your value set. To do this, go to the Upload to FHIR Server tab. To validate, click here. To download either the definition or the expansion, click on the arrow and then select which one you want. To upload your code system, click here. If you have permissions to syndicate the value set, click here. To update the value set, make any changes you require, such as changing the contents or metadata, and then go to the Upload to FHIR Server tab and re-upload your value set. How to create and maintain concept maps. To create a new concept map from the home screen, we go to the menu on the left and click the plus icon next to Concept Map. A pop-up screen will open, and here you can enter your metadata. You can enter a title for the concept map, the URL, and a description. Only the URL is mandatory. Once you are happy with that, click Done. You will now see your concept in the resources on the left. Next, you will need to fill in the metadata. You need to specify URLs for the source code system, the source value set, the target code system, and the target value set. You can manually add your source codes in the table at the bottom, but the easiest method is to import your codes. You can import your codes as a CSV or TSV file. Just click this button, browse to where your file is, select it, select what type of file it is, select the number of header rows your file has, select the column that contains the source codes, and select the column that contains the target codes if there are any. Snapper will extract the labels from the code systems. Once you've done that, click Import. You can then add target codes by using the Snapper Auto Map feature and also by adding them manually. To use the Auto Map feature, you first need to select all the codes you wish to automap. Then, click Auto Map. you can see that the AutoMap has had a go at completing the map. It has also defaulted the relationship type. To manually add codes, you can search your target code system using this panel on the right. Search for the code you are looking for, then drag and drop the desired code to the appropriate row. You can also do this to overwrite the contents of a row. You can change the relationship type by selecting from the drop-down menu. Once you finish populating the concept map, you can add in any additional metadata that you have in the Additional Metadata tab. Here you can add identifiers, publication details, copyright information, tags, and security settings. Once you're happy with your concept map, you can upload it by clicking on the Upload to FHIR Server tab. To validate, click here. To download as a JSON file, click here. To upload your code system, click here. If you have permissions to syndicate the value set, click here. To update the concept map, make any changes you require, such as changing the contents or metadata, and then go to the Upload to FHIR Server tab and re-upload your concept map. How to secure a FHIR resource for a community. To secure a FHIR resource for a community, the resource that you wish to secure must already be uploaded to your server and be open in your local workspace. You must also be logged in with appropriate authoring permissions. Open your resource in the editor. In the Additional Metadata tab, click on the Security button to add a new security label. You can add as many as you require. Labels ending with .read will give users who are members of the community read access. Labels ending with .write will give users who are members of the community with authoring privileges read and write access. *.read allows anonymous read access in that any user, regardless of community access, can have read access. The resource will then be secured to the communities once it has been uploaded. To remove security labels, in the Additional Metadata tab, click the minus button next to each label you wish to remove, then re-upload the resource. How to delete resources from your server. If you wish to delete a resource off your server, from the home page, click the Find Existing FHIR Resources button and search for your resource by selecting the resource type and entering a search term. Once you have found your resource, click the trash icon here. This is not reversible, so please take care. If you are only wanting to remove the resource from your workspace, click the red minus next to the title in your workspace. How to update your resource while preserving superseded versions. When you re-upload a resource using Snapper, it will overwrite the version of the resource that exists. If you wish to upload a new version of your resource whilst preserving the previous version, you will need to do a few extra steps. If you don't have the resource open in your local workspace already, search and add it to your workspace. Make any updates you require. Once you're ready, go to the Upload to FHIR Service tab. Clear the value set ID field so that it is blank. Then upload the resource to the server. You can see now that both versions of your resource are available on your server.